Okay, welcome back from spring break. Um, we're going to be looking and exploring the Autodesk Revit software for the rest of the semester. We're looking at Revit 2014. You should all have this installed on your computers. I'll go ahead and open up my interface here. Yours may look a little different because, of course, I've been in here messing around with it. One of the key terms we're going to be looking at is building information modeling. Building information modeling basically looks at the entire building life cycle from concept to demolition and recycling, the lifespan of the building, where things need to be changed. Not only the scheduling of the construction, but once the building is complete, you're looking at the scheduling of the maintenance of the building, when belts need to be changed, when things need to be lubricated mechanically. Um, just everything you can imagine can be built into the basic documentation of the building itself. From the design standpoint, we look at something called parametric modeling. Parametric means you can establish a relationship between two building elements. When one element changes, the other element changes as well. Initially, this was referred to as dimension-driven design. We've upgraded it now to parametric means or parametric modeling. Now, the Revit software includes structural, electrical, plumbing, um, and architectural, as well as some site development type tools that are included in the Revit software. If you look on page 1-4 of your textbook, Autodesk Revit Architecture 2014 Fundamentals, you'll see a workflow. And we can compare how we used to do things in regular Autodesk or AutoCAD software. We would model things in 2D, then maybe create a three-dimensional model, and then maybe create the sections and elevations all separately to create the construction documents. With the Revit software, we're actually building a three-dimensional model, and we can change things in any of our views. We can look at a plan view, change a door location or a window location. We can look at an elevation and change the height of a window location or the height of a floor elevation. And basically, when we make those changes in any one of those views, it automatically updates any of the other documents that are included in the model. So it's a very powerful tool. So it does require some memory. So hopefully our computers will be able to keep up. We're not going to do anything that's real complicated to start with, but we're gonna probably take your computers to their limits here and see where we can go. So this is the basic um, startup screen with Revit. Again, yours may look a little different, but we have projects and open. And I want to go back for a second to an introduction page. If you look back on section uh, page X, should be page 10, setting up or actually page 9, IX, setting up the interface. And your screen probably looks more like figure 1 on that page, where it has some basic construction documents. It says in the upper left-hand corner, we're going to click this. We used to, in AutoCAD, of course, we click the A tool. We're going to click the R tool now for Revit. Just drop this down. And we're going to see there's an options section down here somewhere. Options. And we see a user interface. And what they're asking us to do under Tools and Analysis is shown in Figure 2. We want checked off all of these things. I just want to make sure we're customizing this the same way. Enable recent pages. So mine looks like it's already set up. It says you can also specify file location. So if we click on this one, um, in the right pane, we can select the order of the templates. So right now it's saying on the architectural template we should move that up to the top. And we can remove the structural template. If I just click in there, I can remove that and the mechanical template. So we're just left with architectural and construction. Of course, we can add things back in. If I hit the plus sign, it's probably going to give me a list of, I could go back in and find those, but we'll just leave this the way it is for now. So it kind of follows along with the book, kind of cleans things up. And we'll just click OK down here at the bottom. That'll help as we get moving along. So let's go ahead and open up. I'll just open up in this simple. Well, I don't even want that one. See what I have I can open up here. I'll open this one. It may take a few minutes to open up some of these drawings, especially if your computer's a little bit slow, because there are so many different items in there. So we're going to take a look at just the user interface. So if you look on page 1-6, you're going to see some things that are familiar to you from AutoCAD, and you're going to see some things that are new. If I come back here and I'll just click my level 1. So here's basically a floor plan. And in that floor plan, first of all, our quick access toolbars up here at the top. And we can see some of the items. There's save, synchronize, undo, redo, measure, align dimensions, tag categories, text, default 3D. There's some section tools, some thin lines. We can change it from thin lines to thick lines. Close hidden windows, switch windows. And if I drop this down, we can add more items. And we can customize this toolbar to include more items. If you want to put these in here, I'd probably just leave what's in there now, but you can add more items to the quick access toolbar. To be honest, I don't use the quick access toolbar too much because there's easier ways to do things. Number 2 is our, if you look on page, the info center, here's our 2. So if I wanted to find out some information on, let's just say Windows, let's see if this works. As long as you're online, maybe I need to hit I think it's thinking. Must be because my mouse quit. There we go. It's going to open up Internet Explorer. Takes me to an Autodesk site. So it talks about how to put windows into a three-dimensional model in the Architecture tab. It gives me other results about windows in Revit. And while I'm in here in Internet Explorer, let me just Google our ARCAT, ARCAT. Free building products details. And you notice it says CAD details, BIM, and specifications. So if we look at ARCAT and we look at particular items, let's just take a look while we're in Windows. Let's just talk Windows. And we want Let's go with wood windows. Here's our different manufacturers, and we have, let's look at Harvey. BIM, specs, spec wizard, so we can write specifications, but let's just say I want this window. Here's a vinyl replacement window. Select BIM. And keeps taking me in a circle. So what I want is, let's look under CAD details. I was looking for some Revit details, so it doesn't have any. These are just DWGs. Let's go back. Look at one of the other. Seems like they should have them here, but bear with me. I want doors and windows. Division 8 under openings. And we'll look at we'll get into this more. I just thought maybe it was an easy way to get at these. Look under vinyl windows. Let's go with these sliders. This is the actual Revit model. I just got to figure out how to download Revit files. We'll just right click. There it is. RFA. Window horizontal rolling CGI. We'll go ahead and open it up. It actually opens it up in Revit. So you can see we're in our modeler space now where this is dimension driven design, so it actually places the window in there. Okay, so we can close out of that. That was a little clumsy, but that's okay. See if I can find it now. So up here on the top, let's go to that was our information center. And we have our application menu. Of course, we've looked at that. You can see that on page 1-9, where we can create a new, open an existing, look at recent files. We look at open, export. We can export. Now this semester we're going to be exporting to DWFs rather than PDFs. We're just going to export our file to a DWF when we're ready to do that, or print it to a DWF. But in most cases we're going to export to DWF, which is a design review for architects, and you'll take a look at that. There's a free program. You can also export to DWGs so that it can be read in regular AutoCAD if you wanted to. So that that is the application menu. Up here at the top, if we click this, you can see it pulls up any RVT, which is a Revit drawing. So instead of DWGs, we're going to be working in RVT files. Let's just let me look at this wall right here. See if I can find that window that I just downloaded. This is our ribbon panel. See if it load windows. Double hungs. Not sure what I did with that one, but there it is, double hung. We can preview it. There's the window. You can look at it in floor plan view. There's the window. We just say OK. There's our double hung window, and you'll notice, let's change the sill height. It is 3 feet. The head height is 5 feet. It's only a 16 by 24. So let's change this to a 36 by 72 with a 1 foot sill height. 7 foot high is the head height. So if I just place this window, you'll notice as soon as I move my mouse on here, I get dimensions. I can place another window here. So if I want them to be exact, I'll just say 8 feet. Click this one. It gives me a window type. It's a type 18. So I've done this entire building. We'll be doing something similar to this in our exercises. So it just looks like a regular plan. If I actually go to my sheets, I've actually created one here. And there's our windows I just placed in there. This is an old title block. These are elevation blocks that we can look at. If I look at my 3D view, that's an inside view. There's our piece. If I hold down my shift key, I can pull this around, and there's my 2 windows that are 1 foot off the ground, and they're 7 feet tall, which is, maybe I want to make this one 3 feet off the ground. So I'll just click this little dimension here, and I'm going to change that to 3 feet. We'll do the same thing with this one. So you'll notice I can change the height on this. If I want to look at an elevation, there's my north elevation, so it shows my floor levels 1 and 2, and I can change the height here. If I wanted to make this window 2 feet and 2 feet. Go back to my 3D view, everything gets changed at the same time. The other thing we can do is change this to a shaded view. We can look at realistic, which I don't really have much for wall types on here. We can change, that's just rendering, the light source. So I can change the still view to today's date at 1 p.m. Hit apply. And I want to show shadows. So here we can see our light is on this side of the building. And if I look up in here, I should be able to look out through those windows. So you can see how the light's coming in. There's a shadow in the back. It's going to show that light from the window. So it's a very easy tool to use when we're designing architectural configurations. If I go back to my floor plan level 1, there it is. So even though I changed these doors, if I wanted to take this window and just move it down to the corner and move this one down to the corner, you'll see that when I go to my 3D view, it automatically updates that information. Same with my north elevation. It's going to show that window spacing differently. So it's very easy to manipulate things on the floor plan. When we look at drawing, and the most important thing is item number, this is item 4 is going to be the ribbon. This ribbon up here, here's our walls, doors, windows, components, columns, roofs, ceilings, floors, curtain walls, curtain grid, mullions, railings, ramps, stairs, text, modeling tools, this is just line drawing, room, separators, tags, we'll get into all this stuff. Grid spacing, we'll put some grids on here at some point. But if we just take a look at this, we're going to go kind of step by step through our exercises. We want to, if I wanted to change, watch what happens to our text. For instance, if I change the scale on this, say it's going to be a 1/4 inch equals a foot instead of a 1/16. What you'll see then, if I hit apply, that my text becomes much smaller because it's automatically adjusting for placing this on a sheet of paper. Whoops. So it's a little more accurate. If I go to 1/8 inch equals a foot, they'll get a little bit bigger. And then you can just kind of move these things around. What you'll notice now, if I went to 1/8 inch, when I go to my sheet, all of a sudden it's a little too big for my paper. So that's why the lettering was so big on the screen. So this stuff can be resized, but if it's too big for the screen, then you have to come back up here and say that's not going to work. We're going to need a 1/16 of an inch equals a foot. Hit apply. So no matter what window I'm in, I can manipulate the model in that view. And you'll notice that my modeling tools went gray when I'm here because I can't model in a sheet view. I have to be in one of the model views. So I'll just go back to my level 1. So if I wanted to put a new wall in here, I can select the wall tool. This is my ribbon. Now watch what happens to my ribbon. As soon as I select my wall tool, all of a sudden my tool ribbon changes. So that right now I'm drawing in a 3 1/8 inch petition. I could go to an exterior, let's just say generic 4-inch brick. And I just draw a block out here. 64 by 32. If I actually wanted that to be 70 feet, it actually will resize it by just, this is where the dimension driven design comes into play. We can look at this wall, and if I select this, it was drawn by the wall center line, but if I actually select this again, you can say I want it to do it by the finished face on the exterior. So we'll just do this. So now my 26, I can adjust this to 26 feet, so it'll shrink it down. There we go. And I want to make this 34 feet. 34 by 26. Now, if I select this whole piece, and I want to change this to a different type of wall, I want it to be, oh, let's see, an exterior brick. You'll notice that it's still 26 feet outside by 30. Well, it actually increased the size, so we'll change it back to 32 by, yeah, 26 is still here, so it's still on the outside. Yep. Let's take a look at this in 3D now. Oops, that's an interior view. So there's my outside view. If we look at this, we can see our shadows. There's our brick on the outside. This one actually has a top cap, so it's outside. It has some design in the brick itself that's set up in a particular wall construction type. So we can see that it creates these two-story exterior walls by going right through the outside walls themselves. So we can look at these in different views. Now, you saw that 3D view. If I go back to my level 1, again, my ribbon panel changes up here. And if I go to my View tab, in other words, this is our not the View control bar. I'm going to get the right terminology for you. Well, it's part of the ribbon panel. So you have structure, which includes beams, walls, columns, floors, trusses, systems, which includes ductwork, mechanical, plumbing. If I want to put a plumbing fixture, I'm going to load in a plumbing fixture. So we're going to look at plumbing, architectural fixtures. There's a water closet. And I want to put in this one here, looks good. So if I want to put a toilet right up against this outside wall, and you notice if I move it over to this wall, it should flip it around, but oops. We'll rotate it. So if I click on this, what's it tell me? That it's the elevation, the offset is 0, so it just should be setting just on the floor. If I want to see what that looks like, I can go to my View tool, and I can select under my 3D a camera. I want to take a picture of my toilet. All right, and it's going to be 5 foot 6 inches off the floor. And I'm just going to click back here in the corner, and I'm going to view this toilet right in this direction. So I'm a little high, so I can just pull this down. There's my toilet. If I want to see what it looks like in realistic terms, so I have a toilet on the floor, and let's ray trace it. Ray tracing will give us the most realistic view. Of course, we're inside, so the longer I let this set, we don't have any artificial lights, so it's tough to see the whole thing. Let's just go back to realistic. And we can kind of move around the toilet. We can zoom in and out. We can pan by just holding my shift key in my middle wheel. We can zoom in and see the view of that toilet in a number of different configurations. So again, if we go back to our level view, and you see that this made a view 3D-view 2. If I just want to rename this, I'm going to call it toilet view. It should say water closet. This one was called, rename it to interior partitions. And we'll create another one. Let's go to our view camera, and I just want to look down the corridor. And again, you can pull these handles down if you want to see more. If you don't want to see the ceiling up on the top, you can pull it down. So I'm standing at 5 foot 6 inches tall, and I'm just going to render this as realistic. So again, we don't have any ceiling or floor. These are just walls sticking in. If I want to do a walkthrough, I can't do it from here. But I'll just I'll change this to, rename it to corridor. So now, if I wanted to go to my sheet views, and duplicate this. Oops. Let's add a sheet, I guess. New sheet. There we go. And I'll just use this old unit. And now we can take our corridor view, place it on the screen. We can take our toilet view, place it on the screen. And we can take our interior partition view. So if I want to make this a little bit, should be able to scale this down by, well, that's the align. I need my scale tool. There it is. Properties. What happens if I change my height to 4 feet? My target elevation to 8 feet. See, it actually you can actually change that inside. Just wondering if there was a scaling. I guess it does it by whatever scale I have. There we go. Let's look at this toilet. if I actually want to go to properties here, and let's say I wanted to change my perspective, let's get down to an eye level of 1 foot, elevation of 3 feet. There we go. So that gives us a little better perspective of that toilet. If I go back to that view, the toilet view, and actually bring that up off the floor, bring this in on the side so it's not as big. We'll go back to our A102 sheet. You can see how that automatically updates. You can move these things around. We'll talk about manipulating views later on. And then we can bring this one maybe in here and overlay it. So just an easy way to apply views of your model to a sheet view. We still have our floor plan. All of that stuff is still in there. So it's again just an easy way, and we'll explore this. So we're gonna actually start this week on page in our in-house labs. We're going to work through the book. I would also point out anything you select on this floor plan. If I select this wall, you can see it's just a basic wall. I could actually come in and change that wall on the fly to an exterior brick wall. Except it's flipped the wrong way. There we go. Flipped it out. So if you select it, you see these arrows? I can flip it in or I can flip it out. So my bricks are on the outside. Anytime I select this, you can see it brings up my properties menu, which allows me to go down through and change specific items. Now, one of the things that you'll see in the properties panels is there are ways to select property types. If you look on page 1-21, you have instance properties and type properties. Type properties will change the parameters of all of the elements of similar items on the screen. So if I go to, let me see my properties. Type properties right here. So if I click type properties, I can adjust that wall type for all of the walls that we create on this. So when we do this, we generally would say we're just gonna we'll duplicate this and give it another name so it doesn't mess up any other walls. So we'll be actually creating custom wall types online, and then we can do just this, which is just to select the properties instances of a particular wall type. If I want to take this wall, for instance, you notice it goes to just property types, and I can change that to a 12-inch wall type. So it's going to thicken that wall on the inside. Might be a firewall. Maybe it needs to be a, if I select it again, it takes me right to the properties type or the instance properties, and I can change the wall type here to, say, an interior. Maybe I need a 1-hour fire rated petition, 5.5 inches thick. There it is. So now that has some intelligence. It knows it's a fire rated petition for 1 hour. So we'll work with those a little bit too later on in the semester as we put these things together. But basically, Revit allows the user to adjust and make changes to the design model very easily, and those changes will automatically update any sheets and any specifications that are put out into the construction documents. So if we go through that, the other thing I wanted to mention is shown on page, find the right page here. I had it highlighted too. On page 1-12, you are always in a command when using the Autodesk Revit. When you finish working with a tool, you typically default back to the modify command. Now the modify command is right here. When I'm done working with my wall tool, I just click modify. Or if I'm in the wall tool, I can just hit escape. Takes me back. You might have to hit it twice. If I'm in the wall tool or any tool, I can just right click and say cancel. Brings me back to the modify tool. Or I can just start another command. If I'm in walls and I've created a wall, and I can hit escape and then go back to architecture and start a door. I'll put some doors in here. You'll notice it automatically numbers those doors as you put them in place. So this is a really powerful tool. And you remember our views, I just added those doors in there. If I go to my corridor view now, I see those doors that I just placed show up in the corridor itself. So anything I do is going to update these views. These aren't just static JPEG images. These are actually views that are created as we go. You notice I just made that a brick wall, 1 hour fire rated. All of that stuff gets updated. So again, I can just hit escape twice to get out of it. Go to my floor plan, and everything is in where it should be. Of course, we're working in 3D, so we have to think about that XYZ coordinate. If I look at elevations, here's my north elevation of the building. We also have views that might be, if I look at my level 1 floor plan, I can go to view and say I wanted to do a section through this wall to here. It's going to go in this direction. I can make it as big or as small as I want to. Say I want to do a section through the building like this. We'll give it a name, and maybe I only want to go to here. Building section, it's view 1. There's building sections right there. So there's my building sections. If I click section 1, there's that section I just created through the corridor. We can look at the detail of this and make it fine. If we say fine detail, it goes coarse, medium, and fine. You'll notice when we come up here, we can actually see the bricks on the outside of the wall in the section. You notice how thick that line weight is. So in Revit, we don't need to deal with pen tables or line weights. Those things are already pre-configured in the model itself. So whenever it sees a section, it automatically adjusts these line weights. Let's say this door, for instance, I want to change that door to something different. Let's load up. And I want to edit the family. Edit type. So I'm going to load up a different type of door. Go to our doors right here. And we want, not flush. How about a double glass door? Actually, I need a single glass door. That one looks good. Nice big pane of glass. And hit OK. So now, if I actually render this as a realistic rendering, there's my full glass door, my flush doors next to it. This one, it's only 30 inches, so I'm going to change that to, I want to cancel it. I want to Oops, I guess I grabbed that one the wrong. Edit type, load. I want my doors. That was a single glass. Thickness, height, width. And I want that to be a 36 by 84. Hit OK. There it is. Now it's wider, so it matches these other doors. So that's how easy it is to go in and just update this material. If we go and look at our floor plan now, and we click on this door, we'll see that, whoops, this door, it's a single glass 36 by 84. So we're actually able to export these things out. You'll notice that it also gives us information in here that what type of construction it is, phase demolition. We could have comments on what type of door this is, well, who the manufacturer is, the frame material, the finish, if it's painted, and those will all show up in the door schedule as it gets output. So we'll look at that a little bit more, hopefully when I'm less congested, but that's fine. If I wanted to change this location of this door, say I want it to be 3 feet from the edge of the door, it'll automatically, you can dimension drive this. You can also change it, well, that just sets the, so if I want it 4 feet from, or 5 feet from the edge, all of these things can be dimension driven from the opening. We can also copy things. If I wanted to make this a row of toilets for that communal feel, now we got 3 toilets in a row. We can go to our toilet view and see those 3 toilets are now here. If I go to my sheet view, unnamed at this point, there's my 3 toilets. So everything updates within the model. This is really powerful software, and I think the more we get into it, the more fun it is to deal with these things, because you can really get a lot of different information from some simple modeling tools. We can also customize everything in here to make them work, so we'll deal with that. So I think that's probably enough to get started. We will be working from the book, as I said. We'll start out with a new drawing exercise. I want you to finish reading through the chapters up until chapter 2. We'll stop at 2-19. You can go in and play around with some of this stuff, and just really nothing you could probably hurt with it. Make sure your software is working. Go through some of these little exercises they have in here. Look on for the drawing tools, if you just kind of play around this a little bit. And in our labs this week, we'll actually start our first exercise and output it. So if you look at there's some standard title blocks. If we look at sheets and just right click and say in a new sheet, if I wanted to do it on a 30-inch by 42-inch E-size sheet of paper, or actually I can load up our title blocks. I have a bunch of 11 by 17s I created last year, but there's a D-size sheet of paper. Hit OK. It automatically creates this, and we can edit these title blocks to make them work for us. So we'll create our own title block probably next week, but for this week we'll use something that's existing in here, maybe this one. If I want to just double click this, I can say the owner is me. Project name is First Drawing. If I want to take that floor plan from level 1, just move it over here. Yeah, no. Let's take north elevation. There it is. It's got the doors, and some of those exterior walls are still on there. You can see our levels are all laid out. So as I put stuff in here, it'll actually show up on the drawing. This is coming in at 1/8 inch equals a foot. which is fine. Everything looks good. If I want my south elevation, just left click on south, bring it over, place it in the drawing. There's my south elevation. Doesn't have much. It's got some columns in the front, but that's just some things we're doing with the drawing. So easy to deal with. West elevation. It's kind of convoluted because I got a bunch of those other wall types out there. But and there's that section view. So that section view actually shows up once I put it in place and shows where I'm cutting through that corridor on the building itself. Again, enough for today. Get in, play around with it, and when we get into the lab, we'll start having some fun building some models with this and outputting to our materials. Now, as civil engineering, which most of you are, we do have some massing and site design tools here to create topo surfaces and parking lots and building pads, and we will be using that a little later on in the semester so that it will incorporate some areas of topography to be included in this. But Revit's kind of an architectural function. Not to say you can't customize it and use it for structures and bridge abutments and things like that. We can certainly do that. If I go, yeah, but I won't take it any further than that. That probably confused you enough anyway. But go in and play around with it. Create a temporary drawing, and you can just do whatever you want and kind of look through the book and see what that is. Read up until, again, chapters 2 dash up to page 2-19. Get you familiar with the tools, and and we'll work on going past that in the live lab. So that's it for today.